Hey, welcome everybody. This is your host Daryl McKell Brooks of the On Fire Show, and I'd like to thank you all for watching and watching the past shows. I'm with a very special guest. He is a Korean War vet, African American. Is Mr. Harry Hudson. Hey, Mr. Harry Hudson.
How you doing,
How
young
you
man?
doing? And I met him at the library, and and we're talking about his engineering and the things that he's doing now. And this is Black History Month, and I feel bad because I haven't had a Black History show, but now I met Mr. Harry Hudson, and he is a part of Black History. And how old are you, Mr. Hudson?
I am 86 years old.
86.
I will be 87 in May.
Oh, 87 in May.
Yes.
So, tell us about, where were you born at?
I was born in the Red Clay Banks of Virginia, Danville, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
1932.
1932.
Yes. And my father was a carpenter
Okay.
and builder.
Uh-huh.
And we moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at the inception of World War II. He did a lot of building contracts for the government. And being black, you had to go where you could get work.
Oh, okay.
And so I went to some grammar school in Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I finished the eighth, I think it was eighth, in Gillespie Junior High School.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to Virginia to high school.
Mm-hmm.
3 years at Halifax County Training School, they called it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, black people could only be trained properly.
So what was the so you went to the training school?
No, it was a high school for black students.
For black students.
In Halifax County.
Uh-huh. Virginia?
Yes.
Virginia.
There was
Okay.
one high school for blacks and 6, I believe, for white.
Mm-hmm.
And but
Okay.
in high school, that's just what they called it.
Uh-huh.
I had no control over it at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think it's called Bethune High School. They finally changed the name.
Okay, Bethune.
Years back.
Oh, okay.
This is going way back.
Mm-hmm.
But the teachers were great. I always found that the black teachers did their best, and we didn't have the facilities or anything like that. But I got a lot of academics out of it, and I read a lot. That was one thing. I read, and I had some students that were way smarter than me. I was an honored student, but the valedictorian, I think, went on to get a math degree at Grinnell College. She was a girl, a lady, a woman. And anyway, I graduated in 1950, and the Korean War broke out, and there were 67 students. Now this is all black high school.
From your high school?
From my high school, and there were 67 students, and half of which were male, and several of them enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Don't stop when I get out."
Mm-hmm.
He was that kind of a
Mm-hmm.
hands-on guy, and he was just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I was too young, of course. At that time, I was only 19 years or 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know this man had been in World War II
Wow, wow.
and was an architect and been called back. But in any case,
So I just want to say, this is Mr. Harry Hudson. He was he's a Korean War vet in engineering, and
Yeah.
he came on the show.
tuition and everything out of that.
Mm-hmm.
There were some abuses in World War II, so they seemed to me they had cut down the money. You got to remember, when you're 18, 19, 20, you're not mature.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know a lot of things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have protested, why weren't they giving more money?
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I dropped out and I went to work in construction with my father. But obviously I wasn't going to stay a construction worker. I did learn carpentry from him and joined the union.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, my folks had bought a black and white TV.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is 1954.
1954.
Yes. And it broke. And so the repairman came in, and he was black.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fascinated.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know. And Reginald Karn was his name. So I said, "Where did you learn that?" He said, "I went to Radio Electronics Institute,
Mm-hmm.
which was a TV, radio, and electronics TV school,
Mm-hmm.
which was academically, I mean, they carried you through, and we built a TV set,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some good teachers.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I took the exam for the Navy Yard,
Mm-hmm.
and became an electrician.
Navy shipyard was the Navy shipyard. Philadelphia Navy shipyard.
Yeah, so I was.
What year was this?
This is 55.
1955.
January, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to take an apprenticeship and still going to school at night for the electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in the electrical shop. There was power. At that time, I didn't know it was a good background because now I had power and getting electronics.
Did you go to college or did you?
Well,
So
I was always in college taking a course.
Of course.
I never had a period where I wasn't taking some kind of course somewhere.
Okay.
And the union, at the time I was about to graduate, the union said, go up to Dobbins Vocational School, and they've got a course in automation and, automation at that time, you'd call it automation today.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it because I had finished the electronics course.
Mm-hmm.
And all the white guys just turned their nose up at it, but I took it.
Mm-hmm.
So now so I came back to work and I was working on the ships. I was graduated. I had now 3 technical diplomas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a ship and I didn't like working on a ship and I was really interested in electronics. I stopped by Philco one night and the guy said, let me give you an exam.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came in, he looked at the exam, and he started asking me about test equipment. I said, well, I've got Heath kits, which I built. I said, but I didn't design them. I built them. He said, oh, you didn't design them. He was impressed. And so he gave me the exam and talked to me, and he says, why don't you wait here a minute? So I came back and I said, well, what's the chances of me getting employed?
Mm-hmm.
He said, when can you start?
Oh, wow. One of those type jobs. When can you
So
start?
I said, whoa. I said, I'm working for the government.
So
And so anyway, I went to work for Philco Corporation.
How much were you making?
I was
back
making
then?
$98 a week.
$98 a week. So compared to now, I mean, you talking 1955?
No, this is 1960 now.
1960.
Yeah, because I finished the 4-year apprenticeship.
4-year apprenticeship.
I did 2 years of electronics, and the 4 years electrical apprenticeship, 2 years electronics, and a couple of other courses.
So you're talking about $98 a week.
$98
Was
a
that
week.
considered good money?
That was
1960?
considered mediocre money
Mediocre.
for a technician. I was not an engineer, but I was working with engineers.
So it's like working middle class. You're especially no family yet. Or
No family yet.
No family yet.
No family yet. That was enough to. I was able to buy a house in Philly, and
$98 a week.
$98 a week. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And I wound up there in electronics, and unfortunately, before the Cold War ramped up the defense industry, they used to lay off engineers and technicians quite a bit. So I got laid off, and I was at the same time I'm in the Army Reserve.
Army Reserves.
Yeah, I never had the time. See, now I look back, I'm always going to school. And that's what I want these young black men to do. Put your head in a book. Forget about the damn joogie boogie and the hip hop BS.
Yeah.
Okay? Open a book. There are tons of opportunities out here. That is BS that black men are. This is not 1940 or 50 even when I finished school. This is now, they're crying for people. All you have to do is show that you got the right stuff.
Now, can I ask you a question? Military, I tell a lot of, let me get this right up here, I tell a lot of young kids about the military. I say, listen, if you're going to go to the military, just go. I tell them to go to the Air Force or the Navy.
Well, yeah, you can.
But so the thing is,
you can stop a bullet.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now in the Army.
Yeah.
And I suffered some things with my hands over in Korea, but.
So is it good? But is it?
But the military was good to me. What happened? Half of my motivation for staying in was that in the Navy Yard, I had a friend that had been caught in North Korea, and he was in the reserve. I said, man, what do you? Wasn't frozen chosen enough Chinese didn't make you sick of an army? And he said, well, I get a check every month for a weekend. So I said, wow, that's a few extra bucks. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I said, I escaped getting killed in Korea. Maybe I'll persevere. But anyway, and then it was always a motivation of, behind it was, these were sources of education.
So
to be a Corps of Engineers, they have all kinds of schools and books, and which I'll get to later. And so in any case, I finished up I'm rambling a little. You got to remember, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, no, we got time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so...
this is for me, you being a part of this interview, it's documentary, they'll go on, people see it all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah. I don't want anybody black to get it wrong. I am black, but I think what happens is you get Afrocentric, and what you do is you lose sight of the rest of the world doing things. That's why they don't go to school, and that's why they're pulling up the rear, and they don't have good jobs. And as I moved up in the salary levels, I would see that black people were, in other words, when I was young, you got a job in civil service or you got a job in a fireman or something like that. That's what we call middle level jobs. Even though they pay good money at times.
Yeah.
And the blacks were relegated to janitor. So when we moved into those other jobs, where then the people that had the middle ranks jobs should have been going to school, getting a degree and moving to the science level where they would make the let me tell you, I just got one of my electronics magazines, and the rate for an electronics engineer now, on average, and microwaves and RF and microwaves magazine is around $132,000.
Wow, and that's good money.
So I could go to Radwell with the time I put in. If my health would hold up, I'm still going to try. With the IoT and 5G, the things that I got interested in, 5G, because of my background, Radwell, I could probably go over there and get a job now for
$130,000.
Yeah. Now that's not chicken change.
No, that's not chicken change. Well, you've done a lot, so you
and I hadn't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about on my show.
Because I have 3 degrees now.
Okay.
I actually went.
So you have 3 degrees?
Yeah, I went on. What happened is when I got laid off, I was by being in the service, they had disbanded my unit, and so I wanted to get promoted. I went up to headquarters, and the captain said I need a radar man for spotter planes, and this is so I said, okay, I got enough electronics I can do that. He said, well, let me send you to school.
Yeah. Wow.
And I said, okay. And so he sent me to radar school at Fort Monmouth. So it just happens I was laid off from Philco at the time.
Yeah.
So I went to radar school, came back. They had disbanded the unit. So I'm sitting there in this supply unit, signal supply unit, with a lot of guys cutting up and no good leadership. And I said, I got to do something. So I went to RCA and worked on the radar and took the exam and went to work up in the ice and snow.
Wow.
The ballistic missile early warning system. You know those big antennas? Yeah,
the big, wow.
Big one. That was to, when Russia in 56, when Russia put Sputnik up, we realized that we had to have an early warning system.
Okay.
For missiles coming over the polar cap.
Okay.
So they built these 3 big radar sites. One in Thule, Greenland, which I worked on, in Alaska, and in Farthingdales, England.
So you were in Greenland?
I was.
What was that experience like in Greenland?
Well, it was working 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Was it?
It was all men.
Okay. Were you in the military or you were?
No, I was civilian.
Private civilian.
But I was still in the reserve.
Reserve.
And they even had a little in the base paper of the ice and snow. Guys sworn in to continue his service. I kept re-enlisted.
It had to be pretty cold up there.
It was. Let me tell you, if you sat down on the toilet, don't sit too close because the water would freeze you. We had a guy, and you could drink. They would bring up a shipload of liquor because that's the only thing that came in town.
Yeah.
And this guy used to
get liquored up.
Get liquored up. And one time he sat on the toilet and he got frostbite on his testicles. Yeah, it's strange. But anyway, and I started correspondence courses in math. And it was a big school called Capital Radio Engineering.
Yes.
And the Corps of Engineers also had engineering courses, college engineering courses that were meant to allow government engineers to take the professional engineers exam. And I had a hard time getting them, but I finally talked them into letting me take them. So I took those courses, and this great school, which is now Capitol College, was called Capital Radio Engineering Institute, from which I got the bachelor's degree at the end.
So you got your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, in electronic engineering.
Electronic engineering, and then
at the same time when I came back to the States, I was working, RCA was running the site.
Mm-hmm.
I enrolled in LaSalle,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me credit for a lot of stuff. And I got my bachelor's degree in business from LaSalle.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, I had this very smart black guy taking accounting. And I said, what are you doing when we graduate? He said, I'm going to Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you should continue. I said, yeah, my wife will divorce me. I said, I have to get out and get a job.
Yeah.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, he said, well, for the hell of it, put in your application to the Wharton School.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I went to the Wharton School. They accepted me.
Which school was this? The Wharton?
Wharton Graduate School.
Oh, Wharton Graduate School.
Yeah, the
Okay.
big one.
Okay.
Next to the one.
Oh, okay.
Wharton Graduate, out here, Penn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have my MBA from that. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I just, one of the things I do talk about on the show is about the educational system where we have kids that are graduating from high school, inner city and suburb, black and white, with 12th grade, graduating with a 12th grade with a 4th and 5th grade reading level and math level. And so,
You got to read.
what does it have to take for young people in general to? I mean, you're a great inspiration.
Let me tell you what it takes.
What do they need?
You've got to want to be something.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to want to be somebody, and you got to stop crying about it, because no matter how much you cry, you're black and you live in the world where the black skin is anathema to a certain extent. Until Africa gets some kind of power. But they still have a lot of BS over there in Africa too. But anyway, being black, so you got to read a book. You got to read books. You got to want to be somebody. You got to get the academics. You got to be proud of your culture without having to make it Afrocentric or a lot of jive. My uncle had a collection of Duke Ellington 78s. So I got introduced to jazz early. See, you got to remember, in the South, there was not only apartheid, I use that word, with segregation, but you had social systems in the South being black teachers, black culture. That's what you hear now in these Black History Days. This is how blacks survived, okay? So there was just, what was I reading, the article in the paper Sunday about a guy had gone somewhere and he couldn't, of course you couldn't stay in hotels or resorts or anything like that. So he decided he would put together a book.
The Green Book.
The Green Book.
The Green Book.
So he made some money on it.
I
with
seen
an idea to serve black people.
That was in the book, I think it's the Green Book. Yeah, the movie, The Green Book.
Yeah.
And,
was it the Green Book?
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie, and I can't think of the name of the actor. The actor won the
Academy.
Best. Yeah, he was it Best Supporting Actor.
Supporting Actor.
And so, one of the things, back in the day, and you're 83 years old and
87.
87. Okay, you're 87 years old. I apologize.
That's all right.
You're 87 years old.
I'm glad you took some off.
Okay, took some off. Take about 3 or 4 years off. You're 87. All right. You were born in the 1930s. Who was your hero back in the day when you were in high school or junior high school? Who were your heroes? Was it your father? Was it someone that you've seen?
It was not my father at the time, but he is now a hero. The only thing that my father, all black men like women. He liked women, obviously. But he said, my kids will always eat and have a roof over my head, and you will go to school. Okay? And so he is my hero now, because I said, if you can raise 6 kids in the Depression, that's, my God, how the hell did he do that? And I had 2, and it seemed like to me it was a struggle.
Yeah. So he had raised, he raised 6 kids. That was
he raised 6
during the Depression.
During the Depression, and through World War II.
Through World War II.
And until they got to be teenagers.
Yeah. So did you have any you coming
But my
up to,
hero,
was there any
yeah,
ad-
all the blacks. Yeah, that's why I'm reading the book. So in the South, in the schools, we were taught Black history. Then was a part of our curriculum, even though the man didn't sanction it or anything like that. But we were taught. We the
So who's your-
black people that achieve things. So
who can you say
I
this
knew,
one?
like today, like I talked to the kids, went to the, let me show you an example. The kids came over and they said, they all had the uniforms on. I said, where do you go to school? We go to Benjamin Banneker Charter School. Oh, who was Benjamin Banneker? I said, you do the old, guy used to tell me the old ethnic task. I wasn't there talking about ethnicity now. But they used to say, you ask him a question, he said, and you give him the answer. He said, damn, smacked his head, it's a flathead. I said, you all going to be all, they did this.
Benjamin Banneker, wow.
You know who Banneker?
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes.
He's
One
still
of
in
the,
Washington, right?
Uh-huh.
Then he lay it out.
he laid it out. I mean,
Engineers.
and that's one of the things.
And I knew that back then.
Oh, yeah,
when
he
I was
designed
in
the city of-
Banks of Virginia.
Yeah, he designed
Because
the
my teachers taught it to me.
He designed the city of Washington, but also, I remember my mom when she went to school in St. Mary's, Georgia, and she went to a all-black high school, and it was called Ralph Bunche.
Yes.
Ralph
well,
Bunche.
that's a little later.
Yeah, that's a little later, but
Quite a bit later.
But those were kind of the names, were named for African American schools. Ralph Bunche School.
Yeah.
And
well, mine was Halifax County Training, which later became Mary McLeod Bethune.
Mary Bethune.
Yeah. And Bethune College
is in
she
Daytona.
founded it,
In Daytona
yeah,
Beach.
she
Yeah,
founded that.
I was there. I went there.
Yeah.
I went to visit there.
Is it Bethune?
Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah,
Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
And so those names.
The guys used to say, now I want to say, what? At that time, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I know we still have today. If you're black, get back. If you're white, you're damn near white, right.
If you're light, you're damn near right.
If you're white, you're right. If you're light, you're damn near
right.
Or something like that. And you're black, get back.
Get back.
And
Or you could
so
be.
this guy, brothers, you could talk back in high school.
Yeah.
But he made some remarks about Mrs. Bethune's looks and stuff.
Yeah.
But
because I was back.
great lady.
I mean, back in the day, we were always talking about, the brown skin, paper bag. Paper bag.
They said for a long time, Howard said, the fraternities would say, do not bring a girl to here if she's darker than a paper bag.
Wow. And
do not bring a date to, and that's black fraternities. And they even had that crap in Chicago somewhere about 20 years ago.
Yeah, I saw
there was something about that.
When
we don't learn, do we?
Yeah, and one of the things in the movie, School Days, Spike Lee movie School Days.
Yeah, right.
And I remember going to Bethune-Cookman, and I was attending Mercer County Community College. Me and some friends of mine, we went down to Daytona Beach because Daytona was a spring break, capital at the time. So we go down to spring break, we go down to Bethune-Cookman. And we're seeing all the stuff that Spike Lee talked about.
Yeah.
You're
Brian
too light, you're dark, you're curly hair.
What was the movie that he did that was that dealt on the black culture and academic? And Brian Gumble asked him one day, why don't you publicize? It was something he asked him about, making that known. And he said, why did you give up our trade secrets? That these things we want to keep to ourselves. And he said, I'm an artist. So I can't hide this ignorance, this foolishness.
Yeah, everyone.
But that's, you got to remember, that's all inculcated by the world and Western civilization, even deeper.
Everyone, this is
being black in Africa being usurped by not progressing. To keep up with the Europeans' master technology. We didn't master it in Africa, only in spots. Not that we couldn't and didn't, but we didn't. And then, of course, colonialism came along. And so it just deepened that trials and tribulations that black people had to go through. Because we had different systems set up. I remember reading books and stuff back then by Basil Davidson, The History of Civilizations in Africa. And I didn't eat black. I had my teachers taught me all that and gave me that.
Everyone, this is Mr. Hudson. He is a engineer and he Korean War vet, and he's talking to us about a history. This is Black History Month, and I wanted to have a discussion with him because I think his history is such, and our history is so important. And what he was like growing up and going into Korean War and taking civil engineering and going around, basically he's telling the story. We went all around the world.
All around the world. I stayed in the reserve.
Yeah.
I did 39 years.
39 years.
And there was always, don't get me wrong, it wasn't just, I was all that patriotic. There were motivations because the military had a lot to offer. I had a lot to offer, and I did my best. I wish I'd done better. Because maybe if I'd have given a little more, I could have been a general.
General.
Instead of a sergeant, you know.
So, I have family I have family down in Georgia, St. Mary's, Georgia. That's where my family originally from. St. Mary's, Georgia is...
My first wife was from Georgia.
Yeah, okay. St. Mary's is like 30 minutes from Jacksonville, right on the East Coast, the Southeast. And I had uncles who were in the Korean War, Vietnam War, and they would tell me all these great stories that they had. And I don't know if you remember, they had the beach, Jacksonville Beach was a black beach, but it was everybody from Georgia would
Chicken
go.
Bone Beach? Like?
Yeah, Chicken Bone Beach, and oh boy.
That's like Atlantic City. Right?
Yeah, and they would go there and have a great time, and they were Korean War veterans.
But that was the only game in town.
Yeah,
Where were you going to go?
Only game in town. Yeah, only game in town, and they would tell me all the excitement that they had.
Oh, you mean in the Korean War and traveling the world?
And traveling the world.
Oh, we could sit here and talk for days just about the being black experience and going to Europe and Germany, especially, and going to Europe. And a lot of blacks married German girls. And guys would say that, the guys would, now I'm a teenager, it said that the German girls would look at them, kept looking and raise them and said, "We're looking for your tail." The white soldiers had told them that the black soldiers had tails.
Had tails, wow.
But you know what? And Miller, I've got about 70, 80 books on the Korean War and black military history. And it's amazing the things that we have accomplished. Not only the pursuit squadron with nobody spoke to General Davis except in the line of duty. The whole 4 years he was at West Point.
Wow. Now, General
Benjamin O.
Benjamin O. Davis,
Jr.
yes, African American general, was the first.
Benjamin O. Davis Sr. Was ROTC, and they made him a general in World War II, and he went over with the tank outfit and did a little time over there to validate being in the war. But he'd gotten older then. But his son, when I was coming from Korea, Benjamin Oliver Davis was commander, lieutenant general, major general, commander of the Air Force in Taiwan, Far East Air Force. So we were moving up.
So during that time, the Korean War, it had to be was Eisenhower, or no? Was it
Truman?
Truman. When that was Truman. What was it like when Truman was the president and he got rid of?
Well, Truman was the one who desegregated the armed forces.
Truman was the one that desegregated.
Yeah, and it took a while for this to seep down. You got to remember, you had a lot of Southerners. When you were born, when you grew up in the South, you were white. You were the freight rate segregation. It used to cost you more money to send a package to the South than it did to send it up here for the same distance. They used to segregate. They used to discriminate against the South after the Civil War. Now, whether it was economics or all economic, but there were a lot of if you went to West Point and your family was patrician Virginian.
Mm-hmm.
You went to West Point,
Mm-hmm.
great. But if you really wanted to be a general, you had to go to VMI,
Yeah.
Virginia Military Institute.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and my officer, one of my commanding officers in Virginia, in Korea, was a lieutenant,
Mm-hmm.
Hudson, who had gone to VMI.
Oh wow, wow. So
Yeah.
what was it like during the time when Truman?
White
when
guy.
Okay, what was it like during the time when Truman got rid of MacArthur?
Oh,
And so
that's one of my.
did you ever meet
being
MacArthur?
No, oh no, that he was gone by the time I got there.
So
But that's one of my things, being a grunt, a soldier,
mm-hmm.
and trying to figure out what had happened and all the misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because they wanted
Yeah.
MacArthur wanted to go into China.
yeah, let me give you the history of that, because I'm pretty adept at that. I've got 40 books on the Korean War, easy. And but what had happened is that MacArthur was like he had a whole lot of problems in the United States with his first wife,
Mm-hmm.
Black Jack Pershing,
Mm-hmm.
being exiled to the Far East,
Mm-hmm.
serving the Philippines, staying over there, and then being given the Southeastern Asian Command,
Mm-hmm.
Southwest Asian Command, I think, and that's why he did the island hopping.
Mm-hmm.
And King, I think, wanted to go straight to Formosa and so forth. So after the World War II, MacArthur's father was a colonel at 21.
Mm-hmm.
His mother was rich.
Mm-hmm.
His feet didn't touch the barracks floor when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was raised hard, and I think he was first in his class at West Point, and a hero in World War One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, can't take that away from him. But during the Korean War, for 5 years he sat over there, and they said the troops. Everybody wanted to go home after World War II, all the white guys especially.
Mm-hmm.
Black guys, a lot of them stayed there because it was the only game in town.
Mm-hmm.
But the white guys wanted to come home. The equipment they didn't renew the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I had my sergeant told me that he had guys in 1950 in the dugout taking M1 apart. They didn't know when they first got there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the North Koreans came in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the equipment was lax, and he didn't pay any attention to the intelligence. But he did do one brilliant move. He did an Incheon, went around, and then he started north. And the British said the guys were throwing their weapons away, because he said, we'll be home by Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on their way to the north.
Mm-hmm.
And Mao Zedong said, I don't have America's firepower, because none of his generals want to come in the war.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but I got to fight Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't have the equipment, the firepower, but I got the men.
Mm-hmm.
And the North Koreans said, what kind of communist are you? You're going to let the Americans run us out of our own country after we had come back around and crossed the border, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we went up to North Korea, and a lot of guys threw away the equipment and weren't properly equipped. And the Chinese were sitting right across the river on the Yalu, and they came over on ice, surrounded them, and they even sent some American soldiers back home to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when they realized that they were enveloped up there, some of the leadership was able to get out. The Marines fought their way out to Hungnam, but the 2nd Division got wiped out overnight, just about in the Chowan Valley coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, so MacArthur was shell shocked. He'd gotten old. They said he was old, and it was just new to him. This was a complete shock to him that the Asian mind could do this.
Yeah.
You know, he just said the Americans, once they see the Americans in it, they're gonna go back, go home.
But they didn't.
They didn't, and so we lost. I saw reports that one time there during the Korean War, Americans were being killed at the rate of 1,200 a month.
Wow.
A week.
Oh, wow.
1,200 a week.
1,200 a
That's
week.
1,200 a week. You know, during Vietnam, the casualties, you get 1,200
In a day.
in a day. No, I mean less. I mean in a month maybe.
Oh, 1,200 a month.
Yeah, maybe, but
During the Korean War.
During the Korean War in the beginning.
In the beginning.
It was equipment,
Poor equipment.
poor equipment, black segregation. You had so many black heroes and guys fought valiantly that any reports that you have about blacks,
So
and
it was,
even movies, you know that.
So-
but we had heroes up there. There was a black. I had a guy tell me. He said when he got there was a black ranger outfit up on the line, up in the Yalu.
so you're saying is that after World War II, a lot of the white soldiers left.
Because
So
everybody wanted to come home.
They wanted to come home, so you
Yeah.
had black soldiers. Majority of the black soldiers were in
Yes.
Korea.
And a lot of the units over there were decimated.
Decimated.
Not, half strength, a lot of them.
Didn't have the equipment.
Didn't have the equipment. When MacArthur realized in the Korean War that the North Korean soldiers were trained, they you know how they put together one division? They went around to 3 different ports, locations, to put together this division en route. They were being formed en route to Korea. That's all written, you know.
Wow.
I didn't get this stuff out there. I read the books unless all these people are lying.
Wow.
But in any case, what happened? MacArthur was whether he wanted to run for president. He had some political connections, and Truman, whom a lot of was supposed to have been just a stopgap interim vice president, but turned out to have a pair, a set. And so when Roosevelt died, he took over, and the Korean War came. He showed his mettle and everything, but he fought the Republicans, and because all the newspapers said Dewey had won.
Yeah.
Remember hearing that?
Yeah, and one of the things.
So MacArthur was in cahoots with some Georgia politician.
Oh, wow.
And was going back and forth saying, I want to drop the atomic bomb, or I want this, and I'm trying to think of the guy that was chief of staff at the time. They said, I want another division, or maybe it was after Ridgway came in. He said, I don't have any more men to send you. And he said, we're worried. Oh, that's the other big thing. America and the Allies were worried about Europe. Russia had not demobilized after World War II. They had, I'm not going to charge you with this history.
Okay. Keep on. I mean,
there were 79 Russian divisions sitting in Eastern Europe, half of which were armored. And we were sending people home and demobilizing. So you got in the backdrop to all this, Truman and Atchison and J. Logan Collins, I believe, who had been a division or corps commander in World War II. He was chief of staff. They said, Bradley's the soldier, said, fire that bastard, fire that son of a bitch. And because he opened his mouth sending a letter, and when he went to Wake Island, he kept Truman waiting. You know, and he didn't come to America to meet Truman when they Truman wanted find out how the Korean War was going. Truman had to meet him halfway at Wake Island.
Yeah,
he was an arrogant son of a bitch, but he was a soldier. See,
he was a soldier.
You gotta remember
MacArthur.
where he came out of.
Yeah.
His father was a colonel at 20 or something like that. His mother was rich. He was raised with a bugle in his ear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the history of MacArthur. I mean, if you want to look at, even with World War I, when they had, and some of the things
they said he picked up the guidon in one charge.
Yeah. And the fact that, when you look at that whole history of the Korean War and how Truman fired MacArthur and he gave MacArthur a ticker tape parade, And
Oh,
MacArthur.
well, wait a minute. Let me lead up to it. So what happened? Bradley is the one when they got said, "What are we going to do? We're worried about Russia and Europe because the French they had just finished. The Greeks had communism. Italy, France, all strong communist parties. You know, America was worried about the situation in Europe. And they said, MacArthur, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, wow.
And so then he started communicating with this politician, and Truman, they found out about him. Bradley
So it's
said,
political. A lot of it is political.
Well, yeah, but
and MacArthur
he
probably
was old at the time. He was 70-some years old.
MacArthur
And
kind
he
of
was facing a whole new kind of different war and stuff, you know. So he said, keep your mouth shut, and that's why. And Truman, who was a piss and vinegar guy, right, said that I'm going to relieve that man.
Yeah,
and
you can say it on Facebook, but you know what?
Truman didn't take no shit.
But Truman should have.
Truman was a good guy, you know, as far as. Now,
but he had
wait a minute, he's white and he's Southern. Don't think that he loved black people, but he did a lot of things to realize what was going on because he did secondary to armed forces.
Because he knew, but one of the things I found about Truman, that Truman was a state senator and he didn't want to, and he wasn't supposed to be president. They found
That's
him.
right. That's
he
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
supposed to be vice president, and they had the guy, I can't think of the name of the guy, who was Roosevelt's vice president already.
Oh, well, not Wallace, was it?
Well, yeah, Wallace.
Yeah, but
Wallace,
he was kind of communist, like.
yeah, Wallace was. He was socialist, and the powers that be didn't want him, and so Roosevelt was already sick, and if Roosevelt would have been,
the party picked Truman.
The party picked Truman, and then Truman, he gets to say, okay, I get the bomb to it, and he wanted to show himself.
Yeah, he's the one who gave all the last okay on the bomb.
And
he did all that stuff.
And he had
the Marshall Plan.
Yeah, the Marshall Plan. He didn't have a college degree, but he wanted to prove himself.
But here's the case of a guy that was a military reservist.
Yeah.
He was an artillery officer, so you had to have a certain smarts to be able to calculate those trajectories for shells and all. And he fought in World War One. So he wasn't a dummy.
No, he wasn't a dummy, but I think he wanted to prove himself. I was appointed to vice president, and I'm president.
I don't know how much self-doubting Truman had. I don't think Truman ever self-doubted.
What I'm saying, to drop the bomb, to get rid of MacArthur. Listen, I'm the president of the United States.
It was a long, bitter war. World War II.
You do what I say.
Huh?
And I think that was Truman. You do what I say. I'm the president.
Yeah. Well, he gave he gave MacArthur all the leeway.
Yeah.
For a long time, and not only Truman, but Roosevelt was the one that gave him the Southwest Pacific Command.
Yeah.
When those other admirals wanted to go straight to Formosa. And he did all the island hopping and stuff. And the Philippines, I will come back, And yeah, you can't read every book, and I.
Oh yeah, you got a lot of history. I mean, I think.
I'm 80s. I read a few books.
You what, 81?
I'm 80. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is that it's a pleasure.
You got enough about the Korean War and the background there?
Oh, yeah.
So, but you didn't cover the part that the war broke out in June 27th, 50, and that's when they were killing the guys, and then MacArthur did an end around at Incheon, because he was beaten at that time, but he did it, much to the chagrin of a lot of other people didn't want to do that. The staff had told him to be prepared to evacuate Korea. And he said, well, I got one. He had one last shot, and he proved it. But after that, when the Chinese came in, and so when the Chinese came in, the Americans were the longest retreat in American military history, from the Yalu back below Seoul. And that's when General Walker, I think, got killed in a truck accident. Some Korean guy hit his Jeep. And they told Ridgway, who had formed the Airborne, had jumped in Belgium, was commander of the 187th, and was, they call him Old Iron Tits, right? Grenadier. And he said that's a medical thing over there. It's not another grenade. But anyway, they said, and he was already in line for some big staff positions. Anyway, might have been the next secretary of chief of staff. But they called him, and he was on his second wife. He used to be known as the Black Knight of the Hudson. Because he said, yeah, when he was going to West Point, he liked nookie, so he didn't waste when he was a cadet.
He wasted no time, huh?
Yeah, he wasted. But anyway, but all during World War II, and his wife was over here all the time. The guys were deployed for 4 years. A lot of guys came back; they weren't married to the same woman. But anyway, whatever the case, he.
Wait a little bit so they can see.
Yeah. So when Walker got killed right before Christmas, they said they just called him up and said, he said, I got my old long johns from Belgium, and the coldest war in a long time in World War II, the coldest winter, and said get to Korea right away. And he took 2 airplane stops, looked at all the situational maps on the plane, and he said he got, I think it was the day after Christmas, he got to Seoul and got off the plane, and it was so damn cold. He said, I was in Belgium in 44, 45. And he said, when I got off that plane in Korea, I did like this. It was so damn cold. Man, it was cold enough to freeze the gonads off a brass monkey. Man, I'm telling you,
I understand.
I would be so cold, I used to cry like a baby.
Oh, yeah, wow.
My mother couldn't help me, man.
Your mama was so cold.
Oh,
so I want to talk about some of the things you're doing now. So let's talk about that.
I can pick up real quick and go. So anyway, I went to after I came back from the B-Muse, and I went to work for GE for 5 years, and on Minuteman III rockets, and then either got laid off or I left, and I went to work for RCA. No, that was that. RCA was before that, and but then I went to work for AT&T, and I also finished up my degree. I took one time. I had some money from the ISIS Snow. I finished, got all my education. I had the MBA, and the wife put up with a lot of shit, you know. But yeah, she did. But it wasn't so much what she put up; it was the way she acted after I got all these credentials. But anyway, I went to work for AT&T and networking. And first I told the guy I wanted networking, but telephone company guys didn't know anything about data networking at the time, you know. And I went in the library up in Bedminster when I first got hired. And I had more books in my library than they had there. But now, of course, then after they what do you call it? Anyway, later on, you know, they started spending money, and it was different. And when the government said that, what they would call it when getting old. Anyway, so AT&T, and then AT&T. Who did I work? Then I went to work for a couple of consulting companies, and then went to work for MCI. But it was all computer networking, designing computer networks, till I retired at 66.
Oh wow! So you retired at what?
66.
When you were 66.
Yeah, when I left MCI.
So you talking about?
And I went.
80s,
I was
early 80s.
Consulting on my own. Yeah.
Okay, so you like say early 80s, and so after the early 80s, after you retired, I mean, because
I just
great job, great working, you know, just like
a lot of things I'm a jazz aficionado and started my jazz collection. You know, I got a few thousand and
Wow.
books and stuff, and I think that's one of the great achievements of being black. And I'm not talking about Afrocentric. It's out of America. But that black man is the central force behind African American, but behind jazz.
Oh, Coltrane. I love
Well,
Coltrane.
the books say that the top 5 guys that were responsible for jazz innovations, it's named
Armstrong. Louis Armstrong.
Louis Ellington,
Duke Ellington.
Armstrong for the innovations on the trumpet
Okay.
and first music. Ellington to be able to write, which the Cotton Club gave him, and allowed the music to expand in terms of composition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the next one was Bird.
Okay. Yeah.
Charlie Parker.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fastest man. I was listening to him last night. Man, I said, "Damn, wait a minute." You know, you know that horn, the way he just went through those notes. He was he and Diz, Bach, and then Miles and Train.
Davis
and Train.
Okay, yeah. You know, I have a friend of mine.
Miles did done a lot of stuff in innovation, and because I looked at some of the other people, and even Monk, but Monk wasn't rated up there for the broad impact on the music.
Yeah.
But Armstrong, Ellington,
Davis, Miles
Bird,
Davis,
Bird, Charlie Parker, Davis, and Coltrane.
You know, I have a friend of mine. His name is Doc Long, and Doc Long is his 2 daughters. One name is Nia Long, and some more out of Trenton. And I go to his house sometimes. You know, we're glass of wine, throwing some Coltrane. You know, I mean, you got to meet him one day. I mean, but he is. You know, he's like, I had brought a young guy to his house one day, and he was like, you know, telling the guy, what do you hear when you hear these the sounds? When you hear these records, you know, do you hear the trumpet? Do you hear the horn? I mean, what the different things?
It's not just the sound alone or the trumpet. I mean, it's the music, how it's written.
Yeah.
And don't forget, there's a big white component in there too. That played with the bands and did writing and the songs and how one of the I heard on one of the supposed to be revolutionary approaches to jazz, and one of the songs was they were castigating the popular song, love song, and stuff like that. Hey, that's how a lot of jazz, and to be able to improvise on that composition, which they gave the foundation. That's how a lot of jazz was formed. Okay. The musician improvising on these compositions, and we got a couple of guys on WRTI say that this song was written in 1912, and then so and so picked it up, and that's now you got Miles' version. Yeah, I think it was last night was my Funny Valentine.
Funny Valentine,
it was way back then, and Miles has done 4 or 5 different versions, which are all rivet you when you listen to them.
Yeah. For all those who are watching, I'm here with Mr. Hudson. He's a Korean vet. He is 87 years young. We're talking about the history of the Korean War. We talked about the history. We was talking about music. We're talking about his history of the things that he's done. I mean, you've lived a great life all over the world. You know the history books, especially the Korean War. You know, of the technology. You know, I mean,
I didn't even cover my 4 trips to Europe.
Oh wow! You know, so
because when you grow up here and no matter black, I guess it's gonna die with you. Not like the young kids. In the back of your mind, there's still that white woman. No, seriously.
Yeah.
That's because it's the day, and I hear and I said, but this is 2019.
Yeah.
But in back of that, so I went to Europe because I wanted to see what it was like. And the experiences the black soldiers had there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them brought brought brides back. You got to remember, I'm 86, man. For a year, I was down on my back, so I might be a little slow. But it's all about in the history, and a lot of times you just run across stories of the black experience all around the world. Okay, and I'm not Afrocentric to the exclusion of the black experience in America.
Yeah.
I think they're two different things.
Oh.
I think it's crazy for black people now to try to dismiss that experience except on Black History Week.
Yeah.
And just say that we're African. We were not African. We had African heritage, the music, everything came from there. But the central thing that drives us today is the black experience in America. And there were some good parts and some bad parts.
What was it like, especially in the 60s, during the whole civil rights movement for you? Did you ever get a chance?
I'll tell you, now I have to give it, the kids, the people that put their lives on the line down there. At the time I was doing into technology and all, like I really, this guy once, this old lady couldn't understand civil rights and all. I was always for fighting and doing this and the courts and all, but I don't think I could have sat at the lunch counter because I didn't want to get my head beat in.
Yeah.
But if they needed money or anything like that, or sport or whatever, had to fight. So
you were in Philadelphia.
I was in Philadelphia.
Philly at the time.
Yeah, and so I got a career going all the time too. So anything that was happening or going, I wanted to be part of it. And but I wasn't on the front line. To me, the front line was to go to Mississippi.
Yeah, in Alabama. Mississippi.
Yeah, in Alabama there, and have your head beaten in, and have a rope waiting for you.
That was
the front line.
Yeah.
That's just like, I'm a combat engineer in Korea, but there's nothing I couldn't hold a candle to the Marines that fought their way out of Hungnam, or the soldiers up there that got surrounded in North Korea. Okay.
Wow.
I was above the parallel at Yongbyon Valley. Doing a lot of engineering work. But
so coming back now with 2019, and you accomplished a lot, you've done a lot, and I thank you for coming on the show. I mean, I think when I saw you, I spoke to you last week, I said I got to have you come on and talk about your history, and so it's 2019. What do you see the future of 2019 for especially young people in engineering and science?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. My second wife is Filipino, and she doesn't understand what I'm doing. And I said, I'm trying to get not only black kids, all kids, but black kids interested in science and engineering. Because you say, I got a job and make $50,000 a year, as opposed to say, I'm an electronic engineer and make 130. There's so much you can buy with 50, and that's
a lot much more you can buy with 130.
130.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. And also you penetrate the ranks and so in there. We'll never in the near future have enough black engineering representation, and they say that, and they bring a lot of people come from overseas because we don't have enough here, and everything is so technical.
So
now, what the future I see is that's my motivation to be here. Don't just walk by my exhibit. Please at least stop and say, what is this? Don't get the handfuls. This is pro bono to me. My wife says, you're crazy. And I work hard on this. And this 5G and Internet of Things, I am still working hard to try to put it together. And I've been working on it a week, even though I've been sick this time. But I've done research water, all kinds.
You're a genius.
Oh, no.
I mean,
No, I just hit the. I hit the books.
uh-huh.
I like jazz. I like music. I know a lot about the European classical music.
Mm-hmm.
I also know
So you're
my background.
so
Listen. I was raised in Virginia with the jukebox and Sister Rosetta Tharpe
Mhm.
and Lightning Hawk, so I know all that part too. But I wanted things that would not just that's my background, but not just to go out and drink and have a party, but also to know how this whole
So
music
you-
form jazz
so you
in the
were
background.
so you're not a genius. You burned the midnight oil.
I burned the midnight oil, and
Yeah.
and I took advantage of
Yeah.
that. All like I said, I took advantage of those courses, other courses in the Corps of Engineers. I went on. They sent me to radar school, which gave me. I got a job right away as soon as I came back, and but in terms of what do I see, I look at hip hop, and I say it's part of the kids have their thing. It's a part of development, and they've got. I'm not a scientist that knows about sexuality. I don't know that much. I know anything about it.
But
Just that.
the fact is, you see all these different changes that in the culture of American culture, and you talk about the hip hop community, the language, the drugs, the